to Behind the Ballot, where politics meets real life. We break down state and federal issues, showing how policy shapes everyday Americans. Engaged, balanced, and informative, that's our promise. I'm your host, Mikkel Jenkins.
And I'm Muhammad Ali chiming in with him as well. Ooh, per normal.
And today we have a lot going on, a lot of updates going on with Epstein, with Clinton, who testified, as well as a lot going on regarding election security. There was a memo that's been passed around. There's also information out there with ICE, the continuation of Anthropic versus the Department of Defense, as well as US and Iran relations are at a high tension as negotiations continue as well. So, starting off most importantly with the election security. So, there are reports indicate that President Trump is allegedly planning significant interference in the November 2026 midterm elections, potentially amounting to federal interference with actions amid at disrupting voting processes. This includes referencing to seizing voting machines and invoking emergency powers to address unsubstantial claims of foreign interference. Trump's allies have been circulating a draft executive memo that would drastically alter voting rights, including mandating voter ID, hand counted ballots, and banning mail in voting under the guise of countering foreign interference, mainly from China, citing the 2020 election, even though these claims lack any credible evidence. A smaller order from March 2025 was blocked by federal judges for overstepping constitutional bounds on the state election control. This is why what happened in Georgia is very, very important, because there we know that the Trump administration sent the FBI there to go after these ballots. So my understanding is that from those ballots, they're going to be able to use the guise of China interference from those ballots to be able to invoke these powers and or invoke this executive order and or give evidence to why this executive order is needed. And
I would love to know what they mean by China interference. Is like, is China putting in fake ballots? Is China putting propaganda into the American news network? Like, what is China doing to interfere with the elections?
Yeah, I mean, I really would like to know, especially how it relates to those Georgia voter rolls as well, because as we know, the Trump administration, they're going after states and their voter rolls. They actually are now suing 5 additional states, including some Republican states as well. New Jersey is actually one of those states, one of those new states that are now under federal lawsuits to retrieve voting rolls, so that they can go through them for levels of fraud that they state. Even though me, Muhammad, and I've stated on this podcast from reading reports from the Herald, not the Herald. Oh my gosh, I can forget what was that. What was that organization that we read that report from, Muhammad? I don't know why I can't think of it.
I'm blanking as
The
well.
Republican think tank. I don't know why I can't think of it. But
Heritage Foundation?
yes, Heritage Foundation. Yes, the information that even they have provided a right-wing think tank led the way for evidence to show that the level of fraud that Donald Trump is talking about and that the GOP is talking about is not even prevalent to anything that's going on, and or that level of fraud has any interference to change the trajectory of our elections when it comes to the final ballot and or the final vote. And then state election officials are looking to make additional movements from now this memo circulating, and looking at potential federal seizures of voting equipment and or disruptive measures that are coming down from the Trump administration. And he has stated, DHS has stated, that there won't be any ICE agents at these polling stations or election places as well. But we will see until those midterms come around, because as with almost everything, he states that he's not going to do this or he will do this, and then it eventually does come to fruition in some shape or manner. So it's going to be really important for these state officials on both sides of the aisle, really, to protect the sanctity of our elections and of the right for individuals to vote, because at the end of the day, that's what really needs to be protected. Doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican. It's the fact that, he's tried to do it. He's trying to do it legislatively, and it's not working. And now he's just going to outright do it with an executive order. It's very authoritarian behavior that we're seeing. Same thing with the tariffs. Got shot down by the Supreme Court, but is still going to pursue, illegal revenue from the taxpayers and or businesses. So it's something that we all need to be looking out for. And these developments point to, extensive tensions over election security as well as what's going on across the nation. And with Trump's actions are echoing his 2020 efforts, but amplified through his executive power. And executive power has sometimes been expanded through the Supreme Court, as we see with his immunity ruling. But there will be legal challenges on this initiative, but ongoing probes by DNI, Tulsi Gabbard, will continue to happen into voting machines and about political disruptions. But experts warn that this is going to erode a lot of trust in the electoral process ahead of the midterms. And I believe it really is. And that's the one fault in democracy that you'll really start to see when you have individuals such as Trump and his administration start poking holes at it, honestly.
I mean, there's always gonna be issues with any political system, really. The the big thing of democracy is that we in current society think for the most part it's the best we can do. But I do think that this is where the checks and balances really come into play and are really handy and are really
Yeah.
show how well of a setup system the American empire is that I mean we've seen federal judges block numerous attempts by Trump to really make these moves to implement more federal laws and regulations around statewide elections because it's in the Constitution that this is a state thing. The
Yeah.
federal government can't dictate how states run their elections. They can't put rules around how they run their elections. It's a state procedure. And I think that we're going to be seeing that again. I think if we see these efforts by the Trump administration, it's just going to result in them again being shot down by federal judges, which have included Trump appointed federal judges.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's nice to see um, individuals who are in their position due to Trump not bend the knee to him for the sake of just appealing the man who put them in that position, which we have seen multiple times with people like Kash Patel, Christy Noam, Pam
Yeah.
Bondi.
100%.
So shout out to the judicial branch, definitely
Yeah, they're just
keeping
keeping
the
their
country
integrity.
going.
Keeping their integrity.
Yeah,
Honestly, that's really what they're doing, and Trump's been attacking them in his 2 attempts. But the justices are staying true to the reasons why they're on the bench, and Republicans really need to get that same level of truthness and understand why were they elected to represent their constituents and so forth. And that's honestly why I'm, glad that the SAVE Act is actually going to well, not start failing. It is failing in Congress. It's not going to. There's no path forward, at all for it because top Senate Republicans, including Leader John Thune, expressed doubts about the using of a talking filibuster, basically, to pass Trump's Save America Act, citing lack of conference and lack of confidence in really what's going on and really legislators wanting to put up votes for this bill. That's the thing. And even wanting to tie it to DHS funding, kind of what I was saying on the other podcast we were talking, they don't even want to go that route. So the fact that those 2 routes that they have in hand, nuking the filibuster and or attaching it to DHS priorities, it's not something that they even want to do, and it's not an appetite that Republicans have because they understand that this bill is just basically nonsense and it really does not censor fraudulent voting or anything of that nature, and more so restricts the levels and the types of voting that individuals can do. And that's not what America is for. And even if this bill was to pass, it would get challenged in the courts by the Supreme Court. And I would think so would get ultimately overturned overall.
I think so too. It'll be a matter of seeing what happens. I mean, we've seen Clarence Thomas and Alito, I believe,
Yeah,
basically
Leo.
always agree with Trump no matter what. It blows my mind how Thomas can rule what he does, considering he's supposed to be one of the more conservative justices, and then then he literally just rules in the favor of the president whenever it's a Republican president. But it'll be good thing about following politics is that it's fairly interesting, honestly. Bad thing about following politics is that you can't do a damn thing, and so you just literally have to be on there for the ride.
Yeah, literally just have to be on there for the ride, and that's why I'm glad, obviously younger Americans and younger generations are getting more involved into the fight and even running for office as well. But this SAVE Act is really something that Republicans don't even want to vote for, and I completely understand it. Yes, they were all
Yeah,
cheering for it
absolutely.
during the State of the Union address, but realistically, they don't want this bill to go forward. They don't want to put up the votes for it. Like, yes, on paper it makes sense, but when you start looking at all the things it restricts and actually the Constitution itself and the way it's written, you see that this bill does nothing. And it should be up to the states, like it's always been, to decide about their elections, and that's how it should always be.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. It's what the Constitution says, and even then, like, even if you
Exactly.
disagree with how things go, the Constitution is the law of the land. That's what it should be done. Simple as that.
And then now wanting to move to AI because Anthropic had a deadline of today and they refused it. And I commend them
Did
for
they?
that. Yeah, they refused it. Yeah, they refused the offer by the Pentagon. And yeah, so the Pentagon's going to start taking action on them, and I'm actually glad about that because Sam Altman of AI, of OpenAI, he stated that his company shares Anthropic's red lines in the ongoing dispute with Pentagon and emphasizes safety concerns and opposition to certain military AI uses as well. So it's not just multiple CEOs, but a prominent AI CEO coming and basically saying that those red lines that Anthropic is drawing are sensible and are something that other AI companies should also incorporate. Because once you go down that route of them using them for autonomous droids for military purposes and or mass surveillance, you go down a very slippery slope. Like if it wasn't for Julian Assange, who knows if we ever would have known that the government was spying on us and spying on everyday Americans just as bad as they were, and all the
Snowden
stresses
too. I
they.
mean,
Yeah,
look at that. These
yeah,
two people
Snowden as well.
expose
I
how the
mean,
government spies on you and they become enemies of the state so much so
literally,
they literally can't even be in the country. They have to go live in countries where they can't get extradited to America because they don't have that agreement with America. That's why Snowden's in Russia.
literally. Literally, and they're just exposing the darkness that's within our government and what, people truly need to know that the levels of surveillance and capabilities and surveillance that our government has and what they are willing to do and are doing should be known available to every American. I mean, yes, I understand the security purposes and reasonings for that, but they always say it's more important to have freedom over security in my personal opinion, and that's why also I feel like the founding fathers
Oh
were
yeah.
also
Oh
of that
yeah.
same notion. I mean,
I mean,
it's a
there's the
no-brainer.
Benjamin Franklin quote: "Those who would give up liberty for security deserve neither." And I fully agree with that. I mean, if you're giving up something that living freely for the sake of being safe, you don't deserve to live freely, nor do you deserve to live safe. And that's not my way of going about saying like, oh well, if you disagree with my ideology, you don't deserve to have a peaceful life. It's more so saying because if you decide to give up freedom, you won't be able to live in safety. It's not saying that oh because of this because of what you believe you deserve to be unsafe. It's because of the choices that you will make based off what you believe you won't be safe. And the liberty and freedom are quite literally one of the core things needed to be safe from the government because the government is a very deadly opponent in the grand scheme of stifling freedom. You don't have to look far. You can even look right into our own country to see
Yeah,
how that works
100%.
out. People were already being cooped up by people who criticize Israel have multiple times been arrested for something like that. And that's just
Yeah,
like the tip of the iceberg. Then it goes further. Exposing the government spying on you, Snowden has to flee the country. And that's just the stories that we know about. Now we see people who are getting killed or killed due to trying to expose Epstein files. Multiple of Epstein's victims have gone through suicide, whether some of them
yeah,
may have, some of them have been killed. But there's been multiple occasions where people who have been trying to expose this global pedophilia ring that the U.S. government is directly tied to have been murdered. And so, if you, the idea is that you should be, you should support complete liberty and freedom because we've seen the darkness and depravity of what the government goes through. And if you trust the government to say, "Oh well, just give us a bit of your freedom, we'll make sure you're safe,"
Yeah,
that's a lie. It's a lie. It's
yeah,
gonna be a
that's a
lie
lie.
every time.
It's a lie every single time. I mean, that's
Mhm.
usually stated in almost every single movie as well. Um, and then I want to move on to what's going on with ICE as well. So their ICE detention centers are facing backlash from even Republicans over conditions and management, signaling internal party discord on immigration enforcement. And also, DHS has admitted to deporting over 80 DACA recipients, with 261 wrongfully arrested under heightened vetting, marking a shift in handling dreamers under Trump's administration, the immigration crackdown. So not only are they not arresting individuals that have violent criminal convictions or things of that nature from reports that we've mentioned on the previous podcast, but they're even grabbing up DACA recipients as well, who are
Here legally.
Americans. Yeah, here
Yeah,
legally,
here
here
legally.
legally. So it's like, what's even the mission here at this point? Like they're just getting it wrong on almost every single corner and every single way that they turn, from the testimony that we talked about the other day to the murders of the two individuals, and even there was the murder of another individual that wasn't even disclosed to the
The
public
blind
until a
man,
few days
right?
ago. I think it was a young man, if I'm not mistaken. I believe
Oh, there
so.
was another death then that's different than the one you're talking about. Which one are you talking about?
I don't know the specifics of it, but I did see it on the news. I think it happened in like I think it was like the early 2020s. I want to say. Um, it was a young individual, and he ended up dying, but it was still wasn't even reported, just kept under the rug. And then I believe also in Newark, New Jersey, there was a car chase ended up happening that ended up injuring some children that was involving ICE. And I don't know the full story around that, but we're seeing time and time again ICE being put into a very, very negative light. One, through the public's eyes, and then you have from the testimony through almost the administration's eyes as well, because you have this individual who did work there. I believe he was a an attorney or a counsel attorney for ICE itself. So he was teaching individuals various topics, and he was, blatantly told, like we talked about, not to show them various methods of the Constitution or how to uphold the Constitution, just to do everything in an illegal manner. And that's not what we want to see from this organization. It's not a sense that it should be completely abolished. There are reforms that can be made to make sure that the right processes are in check, so individuals aren't hurt and killed and traumatized like they have been, not just within Trump's administration, but even in previous administrations as well. This is nothing that's new, only something that has been highly increased just because of the level of rhetoric that's been passed around.
And one thing that I do want to add is that ICE has also been very disobedient to the judicial branch.
Oh, 100%.
I'm blanking on the name of the justice, but it was a federal justice who basically just spoke about how much ICE is just disobeying every
Yeah,
bit of court
yeah.
orders that's coming out. And this is going to result in absolutely people who work for ICE, either from the top, will likely be where the arrests come from, but people will be arrested once this administration changes.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Might even be when the Democrats take over in 2026 with the House, but we'll see. Them because the Republicans in the Senate, if they still control it, might still really try to defend Trump, even though they disagree with what is being done. It'll be really like a situation where do they see a political lifeline through the president? Do they see a political lifeline through going against the president, but still in like in a Massey sense? Because Massey votes 90+% of the time with Trump. And then
Yes,
the few
yeah.
times he doesn't vote for Trump are things like Epstein and more. And
Yeah, things
so
that things that, like, truly, truly, truly matter to Americans.
yeah. And so it'll be interesting to see where the Republicans decide to go with it. But especially people have been killed. People in the recent story, I believe this was in New York, a partially blind man who was illegally detained by ICE in order to bring him back to his house of dwelling, dropped him off 5 miles away from his house, and then he was an old man, and then he died trying to get back home. And it's
Mm.
like well, people are going to these people are dying. People are dying. The people will suffer consequences from this. It's not just gonna be like, oh well, the
Yeah.
government killed them. Hopefully, I would say actually, hopefully people suffer consequences for this. Because if the government is allowed to just murder people and then get away with it, what does that say? It says we can kill people who we disagree with, we can kill people who we want to kill, and you literally can't do anything about it because we're the government. That's the whole point of what people are afraid of. That's the whole point
Yeah.
of one of the main reasons why there was a revolution in the first place, was because
Exactly.
people were fed up with the king being able to do whatever he wants and then being able to impose whatever rules and be able to get rid of whoever he wants as he wanted. And that's the whole point of a democracy, of for the people by the people, is so we can be represented properly. And so then here we are, a program that most Americans aren't happy with, going around killing people and then being able to get away scot free with it. We do need to see these people held liable for these
Yeah,
crimes
they
because they're
have to be held
sick. They're sick
accountable.
crimes.
Because at that point, it's like, where does it stop at then if they're not held accountable for it at this
Oh
point?
yeah,
And it's not just,
exactly.
it's not just on ICE, it's also like on everything that this administration and even previous administrations as well. Everyone needs to be held accountable for all crimes and everything as well. And that's why the House excuse me, the House Oversight Committee had Hillary Clinton testify today for over 6 hours, stating that she had no new information on Epstein, and also that Bill Clinton is actually testifying today. So I don't believe he's done his testimony, like he's finished his testimony, but I know that he is
I hope he's got some
testifying today.
interesting news.
Yeah, so yeah, I hope he does too, apparently. So she accused Republicans of mishandling the probe and called it repetitive for a lot of the questions that she was asked. Clinton emphasized that she had no new knowledge of Epstein or Maxwell's crimes, exonerating Republicans for politicizing the investigation and refusing future appearances. And also, individuals have been stating that the Oversight Committee may look to bring in Lutnick and possibly Trump as well, depending upon what Bill Clinton states. So
That'd be
if
interesting if they bring in
that
Lutnick. He
happens,
was
I think
literally his
Lutnick
neighbor.
will be. I think that's how you get to Trump. I think if you bring in Lutnick, you will be able to bring in Trump just on possibly the basis of what what Lutnick ends up saying, but also it also will end up being what does Bill Clinton say that can somewhat get Lutnick tied into everything and brought in for a deposition. But I do wish that these were public and we were actually to hear what was going on, because even though they wanted it to be public, as in the Clintons, it ultimately ended up being a closed door
Yeah,
deposition,
yeah.
unfortunately.
Damn, it'll be. I hope that Bill does say something juicy, or not even just on like a dramatic gossip sense, but in something that can actually start pulling the direction at people who should be thrown in jail or shown to be
Yeah,
a
it's like
perpetrator,
something.
related co-conspirtor of the Epstein case. Because I mean, we're seeing people in Europe left and right
Oh
being
yeah, they're
taken out of positions of power and being held
yeah. A few
liable.
people have resigned in the US, I'm pretty sure, but,
Yeah, a few
not
people resigned, but not going to jail and facing charges for it.
yeah, yes, yes, and, there was, I don't have the list, but the Bohemian, Grove list of individuals that apparently all attended
Bohemian Grove.
Bohemian Grove, yeah, that all the individuals that attended that, yeah, some interesting, names on there. We would definitely have that for our
Not
listeners
surprised to
for,
see a bunch of
Monday.
celebrities on there at
Oh, I
all.
was never I think Clarence Thomas was on there, honestly. I mean, not a
I'm
celebrity,
not
but I'm
surprised
not
about that
surprised
at
that
all.
he's on there.
Yeah. That whole thing, I mean, it's just having a
Yeah,
ritual where where you burn things in front of a giant owl
yeah,
statue is very. This is what I'll say also, because I'm very spiritual. Just because you may not be spiritual or may not agree with spirituality, or the fact that there might be something greater than humanity, doesn't mean that it's not true, especially when you
exactly.
see the most powerful people and influential people in the world do believe in that. We've seen a lot of the people who control the West believe in, Baal and their view of what is God. We've seen a lot of people do these ritualistic methods where they just literally sacrifice things, whether it's a human or just something else, to an effigy. And if you don't agree with it, that's fine. But these people are doing it, and these people control the Western world.
Yeah.
So that should be something to think about.
No, 100% should be something to think about. It's just insane how they perpetrate religion and always talking about Christians, and this is just anyone as well that parades in these acts and so forth. It's just pretty disgusting. And there's actually a scene in House of Cards where they have a play on this. I think it's called Elysian Fields. I think it's like the second or third season, Muhammad, if you remember. But it's how they say things are imitated through art. So it's like when you see these things in TV shows and movies, they're only showing you what's actually happened out there and things that have actually taken place and where people have actually gone to. And it's disgusting in a lot of different ways. And continuing on, because we all know that during Trump's State of the Union address, he gladly announced that JD Vance will initiate Trump's war on fraud by suspending Medicaid payments to Minnesota, freezing 259.5 million amid an ongoing probe into daycare fraud and misuse of funds. So this targets 14 programs and pressures Governor Tim Walz. Some representatives of Minnesota have actually started to prepare some articles of impeachment, some Republican state legislators. So I wonder how that's going to go, even though it's a very Democratic state. But the
Yeah, I was gonna say
freeze, yeah,
Minnesota was the only state that didn't go for Reagan back when he was running. It is a
yeah, I would be
very
very,
blue
very
state.
surprised. Very surprised if that thing even sees the day of light. But the freeze ties into fraud claims, and this move exemplifies Trump's post State of the Union fraud crackdown using federal leverage against states. It could also disrupt healthcare for vulnerable populations while escalating political battles with Democratic-led states like Minnesota and others. Because I know he's also going to be going after California as well, and Gavin Newsom over, I think, homelessness and all of the issues that they've had over there. Because I've had friends that have gone over to California, and they have said that the homeless issue and situation there is pretty bad as well. And
Oh, dude, yeah, no, it's
I'm not surprised that it is.
when I visited my ex-girlfriend, this is like 3 years ago. When I visited my ex-girlfriend who lived in Sacramento, I had never seen I live in basically the heart of Baltimore, so I walk around, and see a
Yeah,
decent bit of homeless people. I had never seen so many, like, just, like, tent
it's
towns, tent
terrible.
cities. It was terrible, and I remember when they had the Chinese, Xi Jinping visit California, all the homeless were gone.
Oh yeah,
All
I
the
bet probably
they
all
just
just
took them
gone
out
and
and got
just
rid of them.
yeah, it's
So
terrible.
they clearly can do something about it. They just
They
choose
just
not
choose
to.
not to. Yeah,
It's
exactly. They
weaponized
literally choose
empathy,
not
man.
to.
It's one of the most dangerous forms of, "Oh, well, if we try to force them to do this, that's just wrong because we're forcing these people to do things they don't wanna do." These people are crackheads. Crackheads.
Yeah,
You should force them to do the healthy choice because clearly they're not doing the healthy choice because they're not in the right mindset because they're smoking crack and being homeless. That's not a healthy duo. It's not. Get the people off the streets, even if you got to force them off the streets. It's that simple. It really is that simple. This is what
yeah,
things like this are why Republicans have majority support when it comes to crime and more. Because the
yeah, 100%.
Democrat solution to homeless people and crack and more is just let them do it. You know, it's not just let them do it, but it's sad that these
It's
people
more
are
like
doing this and we're not going to do
rehabilitative.
anything about it.
It's more like a rehabilitative where on the Republican side, they're more so incarceration when it comes to dealing with those issues, which both have merit to them, but I sit on the more like rehabilitation, but there does need to be a
You
more
got to get them off the
tense.
street first to
Yeah, it's
rehabilitate
gotta be
them.
a exactly, get them off the streets to rehabilitate them and then get them jobs, education, all those things going forward. And I've always said this, that I think a very good way that can get homeless people off the street if you have gas attendants in every single state. 'Cause there's only a very slim select
What a
few
Jersey
states.
answer.
Yeah,
What
I
a
mean, it's
Jersey answer. Give the
100% a Jersey
crackheads the
answer.
gas pumps. What a Jersey answer.
I mean, it's a lot of states don't have it, which is in reason, but it at least gets them to a job, and at least it's something that we've already seen in Jersey we benefit from, and most states don't benefit from. So I think they would would bask in being almost like New Jersey as well, honestly. But moving
I
to the
I'll
No, what are
add
you gonna say?
this, I don't know about being gas pump attendants, but I do know that it's entirely possible for these people to most of these people are people who had skill sets before they got into
No,
crack and went homeless. Most of
100%.
these
This could be
people
just a start. Could be just
yeah,
a start, and they
honestly,
could
just
branch
to
off
start,
into
every one
something
of them
else.
gas pump attendants.
Yep.
They, it's very possible to just help these people get cleaned off their problem, and then they can become back to being productive members of
Yeah,
society. But
100%.
you can't just allow them to just live on the street and do drugs. It's such a bad issue. I mean, I don't blame people. I agree with people when they say these Democrat-run cities are far too lenient and okay with crime and homelessness. They are. I mean, Baltimore has been very good about the violent crime, very good. But the homelessness is still an issue. Not nearly to the scale of California, though. And when you see like the bastion of democratic ideology, which is generally California and New York,
Yeah.
and you see these people just tent city in California, people think, well, I don't want to live like that. I don't want to have to deal with that. So I'm not going to vote Democrat. It's a fair complaint and opinion to have.
No, it really is, and that's why I believe, like, a lot of the cities and states are mostly ran by Republicans as well, but Democrats do have some good policies that are needed within cities, like, we've seen with, Zoran. He's able to swayed his way with the Trump administration, and I think he was able to get someone released from ICE, I believe, or what was it?
Yeah, for protesting against
Yeah,
Israel.
yeah, he's
Again,
like
back to what we were saying earlier of the government locking you up for your political opinion. Yeah, people are going to jail for protesting against Israel.
yeah, and he was able to get her out with what was it, like a fake newspaper or something of that nature, like a fake.
Yeah, just sugarcoating Trump, basically, just like rubbing up on him, be like, "Hey, man, this would be you'd be the guy if you did that." If I was a politician, I mean, I see the businessmen do it all the time, but they do it through bribes and such. But if I was a
Yeah,
politician, like, Mom Donnie's doing the right thing.
no, he really is doing the right thing. I think he's the most favorable Democrat in New York, or almost even
In
elected
the whole
official
country. Yeah.
in New York. I could see even the whole country, honestly.
He is the most favorable in New York based off it. He's like plus 43. You know what I mean?
Hey, he's
That's
definitely blowing people out the water, without a
yeah,
doubt.
that's like 93% of people approve of him in New York,
Yeah.
which is insane, which is
Very,
insane.
very, very insane, and something that is also insane. It's actually a Supreme Court decision that actually has not gotten a lot of
Oh, I
attention.
saw this. This is
And
crazy.
yeah, it's tying into the election security situation. The Supreme Court ruled a 5-4 decision that the US Postal Service cannot be sued over intentionally misdelivered mail, extending immunity under the Federal Tort Claims Act's postal exception. The decision reverses a lower court and bars claims even for deliberate acts such as alleged racial discrimination in delivery. So just understanding this and what we were saying earlier about what was going on with the memo that Trump allies have been looking to circulate and try to have federal interference with the presidential election, and I mean, sorry, with the midterm election. You see, there's a line that is a line that connects everything all together. You have what's going down in what happened in Georgia connect to this document where individuals have written out a executive order that spells out how Trump can use federal action to go into the 2026 midterms and basically restrict individuals accessibility to vote and look at and ban mail in voting as well, which is what ties into the Supreme Court decision. Because if obviously banning mail in voting isn't something that's going to happen outright, even if he passes, even if the executive order is signed, and even if it's some level of enforcement, there still will be mail in ballots. But however, with this ruling by the Supreme Court, individuals in the mail services could very well just not send mail, just say it's on racial claims, or just say it's on various claims as well, and they will not get in trouble for it as this ruling sets up. So everything is kind of just snowballing into one big, because catastrophe. I mean, not really. I would say like trying to think what really is it gonna be. It's really a balloon that's gonna pop
I
by
mean,
the
it's if you
time,
think the USPS will be
like
malicious in what they do, and
like
I
you
mean, I
think
wanna
by
think these people are just gonna it really depends on hmm. Hmm.
Like,
In
it's
my
not gonna be
opinion,
good. It's gonna pop, and I really think that we're gonna see the 2026 midterms just go up in flames if he really intends to go down this route. I mean, it's a dangerous route. I mean, he this is his last term, so why would he want to lose his majority, as well as set himself up for a ton of trials and potentially going to jail as well for his crimes. So it's
um,
like he's got a lot on the line as well when you really, really think about it. So it's like, do you think that, these midterms are really going to happen? And the more information that comes out about the different tactics, documents, and procedures that Republicans and his allies are looking to do, you really start to ask, what's going to be the case by November of 2026? What's really going to be the information that's out there by then? Because we're only in February, and he's now looking at an executive order.
I mean, I don't
So
think
as
the
time goes on,
USPS
it could get a lot worse.
I don't think the USPS will be too much of an issue. They it's hmm, it's difficult to say, but you gotta take like a pessimistic or optimistic view both ways. Pessimistic, you think that they'll be doing something malicious in or either from the president's command or through people who are within the post office who are loyal to the president for XYZ reasons. But I do think that more so it's you have to go out of your way to purposely take the mail-in ballots and separate them and not deliver them. Now, is that possible? Yes.
Yeah, it's definitely possible.
Do I think it'll happen? No.
No.
And I don't think it'll happen because if it could have been done before, it can be done, but if it was something that people wanted to do within the USPS, they likely would have done it already. And then this would have been the case in itself from the get-go. Now, like I said, can it happen? Absolutely can. But
Yeah.
there's only the swing states are really the ones that would be affected by this in that regard, and that's
Oh,
a few of them.
100%.
Yeah. The ones that are solidly blue, solidly red really doesn't matter. And so it'll be interesting to see. I mean, we're even looking at Texas already has a massive amount of Democratic primary voters, much more than last time. A lot of them are mail-in ballots,
Yeah, they're
and
outvoting Republicans by a lot.
this is
And yeah.
I think Republicans will probably start taking the lead when it comes to that in-person election day, 'cause that's how a lot of
Oh, yeah,
Republicans like to
definitely.
vote. But it shows that even in, Texas is becoming a swing state, but even right now, it's a red state, slight red. Even in that state, it's clear that they're not go the USPS and more isn't going out of their way to sabotage the primary elections and more because it's mm, these are just normal people working in there. It's just
Oh,
normal
yeah,
people.
no, 100%. But at the moment, they don't have a level of directive to do anything of that nature, or even an indirective for something like that, that Trump could initiate, that could have that barreling effect that we were talking about. But I would hope that individuals would, just be and just, go about their average normal jobs and not partake in anything of that nature.
Yeah,
And then,
hopefully, I'm optimistic that things will work out,
yeah,
because of the judicial branch blocking his attempts to federalize the state elections and because the USPS isn't just going to maliciously sabotage the races for the president.
yeah, I mean, I would really hope so too. I would really hope so too. And just, still, I know we're talking about mail, but FedEx has pledged to return any refunds from Trump's now illegal tariffs to customers who paid them following the Supreme Court ruling. The company is among those suing for reimbursements. Currently, there are 2,000 lawsuits from various businesses and even states seeking refunds, and the DOJ faces a February 27th deadline, which is today, to respond to expediting 175 billion in tariff revenues through the Court of International Trade, with over 300,000 potential claimants in new lawsuits post ruling. So the Trump administration has a lot going on for them in these last few days with
I know
this
Pam
ruling
Bondi hates
not
your
going
life
their
right
way.
now.
Yeah, I mean, the whole administration is basically just running around with all the chaos and trying to make sense of it all. But I really would like to see what some of these claimants, who they are to 300,000, and as well as how or which any way they'll take to look at expediting the 175 billion, or if they're just going to ignore it, like like they normally do in anything,
Yeah,
that
literally just
yeah,
ignore it, act like it
just
doesn't
ignore it,
exist. But, like, you're
literally.
grown adults, you are a department of the government, you're the Department of Justice, and you're like, "If we don't do anything, then we don't have to do anything," and it's
Yeah,
just
basically.
so childish. This whole administration's so childish.
It's terrible, it's
It
terrible.
really is. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not when I insult this generation, I mean, this administration. It's not me in a sense like saying like, "Oh, well, every previous administration was perfectly fine." No, you can criticize one without thinking the others were perfectly fine and supporting them. But
100%.
without a doubt, what we're seeing out of this administration, from Kash Patel using private jets to go party with the U.S. men's hockey team, to going to see his girlfriend's concerts, to Pam Bondi going and having index cards to make fun of specific members of Congress because she's having a disposition,
Yeah,
to Trump going around throwing around tariffs because some people of those countries are doing things that he doesn't like, even if it doesn't affect him at all. It's just so childish and
very
exhausting.
childish,
It really is. Like grown ass adults.
literally.
If you made like a comedy, you can make like a satirical comedy, and people be like, "Oh, no, this is just. I understand this is satire, but this is just kind of ridiculous." Like if you told me that the head of the DOJ would have index cards for insults for members of Congress, and was just using them instead of answering questions about Epstein, I'd be like, "No way, no way." And here it is, really is. Oh my god, I hate Pam Bondi so much. I hate
Yeah,
Pam Bondi so
yeah,
much.
she's the worst, she's the
She's the
worst.
worst. She's my
She
least
is
by
the
far
worst.
my least favorite person of this whole administration. I mean,
Yeah,
it
that's
ties
not
into the
too
fact that she's defending a giant global pedophile trafficking child ring, and also
that
the
too.
fact that she's been tying to defending Epstein for the last decade and a half, since 15 years ago. She was the AG in Florida when he had his Florida court case that was a sweet honey sugar deal, where
Yeah,
even though he
very
was caught
sweet.
trafficking children, he just got away with it basically.
Yeah,
And
basically,
I
but
just want to see that woman go to jail, prison so bad. Give her the
yeah,
death penalty. Honestly, give her the death penalty. If there's not many people in America who deserve the death penalty. It's a very dying thing. She's
yeah.
one of the few people who deserve it, in my opinion. All right, I just wanted to go on that little rant.
No, that's fine. I mean, she's not someone that has definitely lived up to the full extent of how the law should have been applied when it came to Epstein. He should have never gotten some sweet deal, as well as with these Epstein files and following the Transparency Act. So the Democrats will have their day, and she will have hers just as well. And
Mhm.
just lastly, on the global front, and as we know, the United States and Iran are in talks. They talked yesterday, I believe, and it did not go well. There were various gaps and a lot of the positions that both the United States and Iran were in, and the U.S. military is actually prepared to capture Iranian Shahed drone technology. So this technology is basically like kamikaze drones. So they have this technology and are looking to actually use it against Iran if there's some form or level of attack. And then you also have US and UK embassies in Beirut are starting to evacuate, and other places in Iran are looking to evacuate as well, as people are looming to an unknown time frame when this attack is coming. It's can be either today, tomorrow, by Monday next week. No one's really sure what's going to happen, but I know that the Democrats are looking to hold a vote next week on the War Powers Act. They're going to force a vote, and we'll see who votes
Thank God
which
the
way.
Democrats are doing that. I know
Yeah, we'll see who
Schumer was
votes which
talking
way.
about wanting to not do it because it would look bad for the Democrats. I'm glad the
Yeah.
leadership realized that. It doesn't it look even worse if they went with the, "Oh, we shouldn't vote on it" idea.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I understand the argument that it restricts his powers, but still, though, Iran has said even a limited strike they would see as an all-out war purpose and just completely start going after American bases that are in Iran or even around the region as well. So, hopefully we'll see what happens, but this is very reminiscent of us going into Iraq because we also have Trump and Rubio making claims that Iran will have missiles soon capable of hitting the United States, which is contradicting to a 2025 Intel report, which estimates that it would take Iran 10 years to build up those type of weapons to even reach the United States. So we're seeing this false narrative played out about Iran that Israel is wanting because they obviously want to be the ones to go into Iran and force a level of regime change realistically. And we can't allow that to happen. If it does, it's only going to get worse for the region
Look what
across the
happened
board.
with
We'll see.
Afghanistan.
Yeah,
It's
I mean,
just the perfect
Afghanistan, yeah,
example.
literally all the
Like,
places that we have been into,
we tried
it's
to force a
never
regime
gone good.
change in Afghanistan. We had to be there for 20 plus years to control them. The moment we leave, the
Literally,
Taliban gets back in power. And it's like, so what's the plan? Are we going to stay in Iran with our military and try to create our own puppet state
exactly,
within Iran? Or are we going to then just try to say, oh, well, you guys can go ahead and figure this out yourselves. And then we're going to get back to the point where, because of our militant invasion, that they're just going to put in probably another militant dispo group that control the government through their own, through might. It's not like these people have the chance to vote for it.
literally.
And well, and speaking of Afghanistan, I don't know if you heard this, Mikhail. Them in Pakistan right now are in a
Yeah,
state of open war.
yeah, yes, yes, they are. I did read that as well. So,
Pakistan would
yeah.
destroy them.
Oh, yeah, they 100% would. They
Yeah.
definitely would. Definitely would.
And on top of that, I mean, because Pakistan and Saudi Arabia have that agreement where if one country gets under attack, then it's like both countries are under attack. Saudi Arabia does technically have full reason to also then attack Afghanistan, who's also a thorn in its side. So it'll be interesting to see how this escalates and where it goes from here. But I don't think anybody in the world except for the Taliban would be sad to see the Taliban go.
Yeah, no, 100%. I definitely think a lot of individuals and leaders in the world would definitely agree on that. And I really hope these negotiations are able to, find a path forward and that there is no limited strikes on Iran from our side of things, or even Iran trying to strike us or our proxies that we have in Israel and so forth. But I do know the Trump administration has stated, well, his allies, well, not his allies, individuals in his staff have stated they would rather have Israel do the attack first because politically it would look better. And I could agree to some extent, but now with that information out in the open, it's like it doesn't matter at this point. Individuals know if one attacks the other that it's a combined effort to just draw the other one in to attack realistically. So as the weekend starts to turn and come in, and the uncertainty of these U.S. Iran negotiations as the weekend begins, it's really going to be you know a lot of chaos going on,
A lot of
and
stuff
a lot of
happening.
news that's going to be breaking possibly on when these strikes happen. Because, as I said, it could happen at any moment. Trump's not giving a timeline, but they're having a lot of evacuations within the last 2 days. So it's edging towards. My best guess would be Monday, honestly, Monday or Tuesday. Muhammad, what do you think?
I have no idea. I have no idea. We'll
Yeah,
see.
I'm gonna go with
Whatever
Monday.
poly market odds are, that's my guess.
That's not a bad way to look at it. Maybe I'll take a look at that. Maybe our listeners should too as well, honestly. And as always, thank you for tuning in to Behind the Ballot, where we keep politics engaged, balanced, and informative. Stay curious, stay critical, and stay involved. I'm Mikkel Jenkins, and until next time, keep looking beyond the headlines and behind the ballot.
And this is Muhammad Alec. God bless America. God bless you all. I hope you all have a good day and live freely. That's the most important thing. If there's anything you can take away from this, it's live